We're going to get it started, and I'm going to go outside and organize a little bit to get some more people come in the room. I know that they're leaving their lunch session, and this is the place that they should transition to before going off to their afternoon session. It is indeed a great honor to introduce the Social Media 2.0 Black Power in the Digital Age Forum. For the past several years, I have helped the members of the Congressional Black Caucus organize what I believe to be timely discussions on information technology and deployment of broadband that will benefit the minority community. I can tell you, as someone who worked for former Vice President Al Gore, it is so important that the African American community become more familiar with the new digital age. Technology will not wait for us. In fact, it will continue to develop at a rapid pace. And it's so important that we understand how to utilize it in order to improve the conditions of our community, expand our own businesses and opportunities in the 21st century. I am pleased that we have a guest in a few moments. Mr. Clyburn, James Clyburn, who is the Majority Whip in the United States Congress, will come and formally introduce this session. But there was an emergency meeting called at 1:30 to discuss health care, and I promised Mr. Clyburn that we will start, and when he comes, we will allow him to say a few words, and I want him to go back, because I don't know about you all, I believe that when James Clyburn is in the room, somehow know that many of us are represented, especially now that they're in the negotiation phase. And his wonderful daughter, the new FCC commissioner, also tried to be with us, but she will be here tomorrow at another workshop on broadband. I hope you get an opportunity to meet Ms. Mignon Clyburn, a real dynamic sister who will carry our voice on the FCC. But I want to also thank Julia Johnson. Where's Julia? Julia's going to close out this forum. Julia, I know you didn't plan to close it out, but I have a hit time on CNN. That's old media for some of y'all who are new school. And given the stakes today in the public policy debate on the G20 summit and the UN session, I'd like to go back on today and try to clarify whatever might have been mischaracterized so that I can continue to speak for and try to at least talk about what President Obama is trying to accomplish. Julia will also thank our sponsors as well, but it is indeed my great honor now to bring up a friend, a trailblazer, a pioneer in her own right in new media. She is the former host of NPR's News and Note. She has won many awards and honors throughout her very brief but clearly wonderful career. She's written 3 nonfiction books, and of course she has a new novel out now, Kiss the Sky. She's an academic like myself, but more importantly, she's a voice of reason and sanity, and she is, in the words of Maya Angelou, a phenomenal woman. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Ms. Farai Shidell. Thank you so much.
Donna Brazile is always kicking butt, and I just have to say that one of the most exciting experiences I've had as a journalist was getting to consistently be in touch with people who lead thought and who lead people, who organize people like Donna Brazile. And at News and Notes, she was a regular guest throughout the election, even before the election. One of the things that we did on News and Notes, which was an NPR program that really covered the African American community and the African diaspora community, was we worked to network people digitally. And one of the things that is becoming incredibly apparent, which we're going to speak about shortly with Robert Townsend and Ray Ramsey. Gentlemen, would you like to get seated while I'm getting ready to introduce you? Can we get a round of applause for actor, director, producer Robert Townsend, Ray Ramsey? On Economy Corporation. One of the things that has happened with media is that all media is everywhere. All media is everywhere because digital media follows you wherever you go. You can listen on your phone to a radio broadcast. You can watch Diary of a Single Mom on your iPhone, you know, and I think that this opportunity that we have here is one where we are all gathered because we recognize the power of what is behind digital media, which is people. There is no particular snap and pop and fizz to just having bits and bytes. It's really about who's behind the bits and bytes. And two of the people who are behind them are Robert Townsend, who is to my right, far right, Robert Townsend, filmmaker, actor, producer, entrepreneur, philanthropist. He has been making history in words and images, and he's got 30 NAACP Image Awards, plus has served as the president and CEO of production for the Black Family Channel, president of a joint venture with the One Economy Corporation called the V Studio, and their flagship project, Diary of a Single Mom, can be seen on the public internet channel, which we're going to learn more about. We've also got Ray Ramsey, Chief Executive Officer of One Economy Corporation, which I used to work for, and this incredibly successful, wonderful organization is leveraging technology to really bring from both directions, from the media side, the content side, from the social networking side, from the access side, really talking about bridging the digital divide, creating digital opportunity. And on that level, Ray Ramsey is a founding member of the Broadband Opportunity Coalition. So I just want to thank you both so much for joining us. And there will be a couple more sessions that we're going to do where I'll be more a part of the conversation. In this case, I'm just going to let you guys go, and as we need to redirect or bring in audience members, I'll step in. So Ray and Robert, take it away. Whichever you like.
It's a pleasure to be here. Again, I'm Ray Ramsey, and Robert and I have not rehearsed what we're going to do, so you saw us up here whispering together, sort of who's going first, what are we going to talk about, et cetera. We'll speak about what comes naturally. I want to just, because Robert is really going to be the dessert, and when I asked him to join our efforts at One Economy, I said, one of my earliest meetings, I said, Robert, One Economy, we view information in a very special way. And I said, and we've been very good about bringing together the spinach, the meal, the entree. I said, but people want a full meal. They want the dessert and they want the appetizer. So I asked him to come and add that to our efforts. So you're going to hear and you're going to see some clips of some of what we're talking about. Now, we've coined the phrase public purpose media. And you're going to hear a lot about that, particularly this evening if you join us at the museum at 6:30 tonight, because we have a program that will be doing the world premiere of Season 2 of Diary of the Single Mom. So we're going to really show that off tonight. But I'm going to spend some time tonight, as well as now, just briefly talking about public purpose media. And for us, it's a simple concept, but a very important concept. And what that is that media can play a role in helping people improve their lives. And we have three objectives. One, to engage people. We got to bring the eyeballs. Two, provide quality information. And third, and most importantly, facilitate action. Help people help themselves. And if we can engage, inform, and facilitate action, we will truly achieve media with a purpose. When people talk about bandwidth, nothing has the bandwidth of television. But if we ask ourselves, has television moved the meter as far as we would have all liked in terms of health, disease management, education, employment, and those sorts of issues? If we're honest, we'll say it hasn't achieved all that we hoped. So in this rush to make sure that everybody gets broadband, which is important, but broadband for the sake of broadband isn't going to move the meter on the issues that the country needs to have moved. And so our approach is to say, let's harness that power, broadband as the instrument, information as the oxygen, then we can do something very important. And at One Economy, we say that in the 21st century, information is oxygen for the individual. Everybody's got to have it. But we want to be able to go farther with it in terms of what it can mean in terms of a difference in people's lives. So what we started 9 years ago, focusing on let's make sure that broadband is available and affordable and that people will use it. So one part of One Economy focuses on bringing broadband to where people live. And we have a whole unit of One Economy that focuses on that. A second group, which is very important, is we harness the energy of young people in what we call the Digital Connector Program. And these young individuals go out into their communities helping others use technology. 3,000 young people have graduated from that program. And lastly, public purpose media. On the public internet channel and our Beehive website, you'll see hundreds of pages of content on issues that really matter. But what Robert is doing as president of the V Studio, and V stands for the Virtual Studio for Public Purpose Media. And by virtual, it means even though he's located in Hollywood, we want to be able to attract producers, directors, editors, and writers, regardless of where they are in this country and actually around the world. So our goal is also to recruit talent to help him in this cause. But Robert has dove into this issue to develop content. So you're going to see some snips of Diary of the Single Mom, but there's a whole drawing board of other content that you're going to hear about. And yes, we're going to be distributing on cell phones, PDAs, as well as online. So this year and in the coming months, we're going to be spending more time, more money on our viral marketing efforts, and we're very excited by it. So I'm going to just end with that and just tell you that what you already know, Robert is an extraordinary person who is taking on an extraordinary task. But I asked him, I said, bring the talents of Hollywood together with the ambitions of not only a nonprofit, but of the people that we represent, people who just want to participate in society, civic engagement, economic development, their own livelihood. And when you marry the power of the talent of the folks that he represents with the human spirit and the human ambition, amazing things happen. And I also want to thank the entire staff of One Economy, but also the actors who Robert will introduce who do extraordinary things in this series. So, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Robert Townsend, and thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you guys for coming out. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Ms. Brazil for having us here and everybody here that made this event possible. I've been in the image game for, 20-something years now, creating images. My journey started when I was a little kid watching television, and I would see TV, and I never watched it with a prejudiced eye. I just loved television. But then one day when I grew up, I started to really watch television closely. Like I wanted to be Humphrey Bogart because he was, he was cool. He talked like that. I didn't notice the black people on television. They talk like this. You want me to get your luggage? And I started to notice that there was a difference. I started to notice that there were certain images that was being written, directed by somebody. Cut to the future. I've directed movies, television shows, sitcoms, variety shows, you name it. Then I meet this gentleman over there, Ray Ramsey, and he starts talking to me about the future. The future is broadband. The future is the internet because it's a click away. Life is a click away. Then he talked about, it's one thing to entertain people. It's another thing to educate people. It's one thing to tell a man, here's a meal. It's another thing to teach him to fish. A lot of people want a piece of the pie. What we're talking about is the recipe. So with One Economy and the V Studio, we began a journey a couple of years now. The first project to come out of that journey was Diary of a Single Mom. Ray started to share his vision. He said, Robert, it's not so much, it's the entertainment, but then we're going to create this thing called the toolbox. One of the characters on the show is trying to get her GED. Now, there may be some people at home that click the box and they haven't gotten their GED, but they're afraid to ask the questions. With this programming and with this site, PIC.TV, you can click on the toolbox and find out all the questions and answers you need to know about getting your GED. One of the characters discovers a lump in her breast, and she has a scare. And one of the things that research has shown that a lot of people don't go to the doctor. In this toolbox, you can watch the show and enjoy the show, but then you can click and say, what are the symptoms, what are the signs, and kind of diagnose yourself on a whole nother level, and then reach out to a doctor. There's a character in the show that's a mentor that gives, advice to her. There's a box on the side that you can click and find mentors that will help you with your education, help you on all kind of levels. What we're talking about is the future, the superhighway. And in terms of being left behind a little bit, right now African Americans are not taking full advantage of what is there in that space. So a panel like today is really, really important and powerful to have a discussion, because the future is about the cell phone, it's about the internet, it's about having access at your fingertips. There's a lot of stuff on television, but a lot of that stuff is negative. A lot of that stuff doesn't feed your spirit, feed your mind, give you tools that can make your life better. What we're talking about here is a revolution on that internet. It's right there within your fingertips. It's all there. Now who's going to step up and take that superhighway to the next level? And that's what the mission of One Economy and the V Studio is all about. Right now I'm going to show you a clip. And tonight is our big fundraiser gala. We'd love all of you to come. It is at the Museum. It's going to start at 6 o'clock? 6:30, but because I know some people will be late, 6 o'clock. Love to see all of you there at 6 o'clock to come to the event. I'm going to show you a clip now of the first season, a recap. Well, there's two clips here. There's one clip to tell you a little bit about the V Studio and One Economy and what we're doing, and then you're going to see a clip recap of the first season of Diary of a Single Mom, and then tonight, when you get there tonight, we're going to show 2 full episodes. And I'm going to introduce the cast after this, so I've got a special treat for you. So, who conducts the lights? Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. And hit the playback. Here we go. Oh, she has it up here? Okay. She's going to hit the playback in a second. And tonight, like I said, please get there on time. And we're just going to have a good time. We're going to show you 2 of the episodes. And, okay, here we go. Lights, okay. Oh, it's in the middle of it. Start, no, start it.
Act like that's
Go back. No, close your eyes. Rewind, just. Close your eyes. Do not look. Do not. You're not messing up my presentation. There's a problem with 1 second, I have to rewind. But this is a series I'm really proud of. If you have not, raise your hand if you've had a chance to see Diary of a Single Mom online. Raise your hand high, please. Oh, so a lot of you have seen the show. Put your hands down. How many people have not seen Diary of a Single Mom? Oh, okay, put your hands down. If you go to pic.tv, you will see Diary of a Single Mom. You must see the first 8 webisodes, and then tonight, so your homework in between now and then, if you could go on, I know you got a lot of stuff to do, but you are missing a very powerful show. While there, are we close? What happened, brother? You promised me. The show, the cast is here, but I don't want to introduce the cast until you see the clips. But then please come tonight because, again, you'll get to see more of what we're doing in this space. And like I said, what we're doing is really definitely needed. So I guess, are we close now?
Is it a web episode?
Do you want to, it's a web series.
No,
because it's a clip.
You know what I say? Can you eject it? Eject it. No. No, what I would say is eject it. Just eject it. Yeah, just take it out. Yeah, because they won't remember it. Old school. Okay. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. So it should start because it's not one of those things like, all right. And so if you go back to the, so do I just hit the lights and turn the lights down? I just hit the bottom button? Yeah. Okay, so click it. Here we go. That it? There it is. Is that it? Yeah. All right, here we go. Is that the beginning? Yeah. Turn it up.
She's not my responsibility.
Sure she is. She's your family.
What about your son who's waiting on you?
You act like that's the only kid I've got.
People agree that it's best to raise children in a two-parent home, and that's a very nice thought, like Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, or equal pay for women.
He's a triathlete, husband, Ironman competitor, and dialysis patient. Shad would ride his bike over 4,000 miles from California to Washington, D.C. to raise awareness for chronic kidney disease. Join him on the biggest challenge of his life.
Don't know how to do this by myself.
None of us do.
Soda is a huge contributor to childhood obesity. If your child protests to drinking water, try using frozen fruit as ice cubes to church it up a bit.
I mean, baby, after 8 years of Wyclef, the country looked beautiful.
Peace out.
Last season on Diary of a Single Mom.
Ocean Jackson.
New apartment manager and on-site repair person.
Oh, hell no. She's a woman.
Oh, hell no. How did that happen?
We're tenants. Temporarily. Don't need anything.
Baby, don't cry. I told you I was leaving. Just play your video games. Take care of your sister, all right? I love you.
I can't take her on. And, I mean, this building, my kids.
She needs somebody stable, like you. Because there ain't nobody in our family more stable than you, baby girl.
What about your son who's waiting on you?
You act like that's the only kid I've got. Louie, what I tell you about leaving my daughter alone?
Okay, don't even start that mess because you come up here twice a month and all you do is find fault. Maybe my kids would be better off without me.
Every problem has a solution.
Mr. Bailey, I'm tired of it. Dream list, wish list, to-do list. I want to be at the finish line. I won't always be at the starting line.
I understand what you're going through. You know,
Oh, man.
My husband did everything for me. I never had to worry about anything. I don't know how to do this by myself.
None of us do.
All I'm saying is, you gotta start somewhere.
I got the job.
how did any man let you get away? You're a great mother, and it's a pleasure to watch.
He's a good man, but I could never be happy with him, but maybe you can.
That's a walnut. I thought you were going to the doctor to fix that.
I did, but then they started talking about biopsies and surgeries.
No more excuses. I'm going to the next doctor's appointment with you.
I tried with her, but she got to get out of my house.
Well, I don't call it trying. Trying is not thrown in the towel after 2 months.
She's not my responsibility.
Sure she is.
She's your family! I can't leave her here, man. I can't leave her with you no more. I can't do this. I love her too much. I can't do this, okay?
Okay,
I'm sorry.
Hey, baby. Remember me? Your husband?
I got fired 2 days ago. I went from millions to food stamps. And how do you do it?
You. If we pool our resources together, we can help each other. This is a diary of a single mom trying to get ahead in a world trying to hold her under.
Let's meet the cast from Diary of a Single Mom, starring as the character of Ocean Jackson. Please, Monica Calhoun. Starring as Lupe Ramirez, please welcome Valerie Ortiz. Starring as Peggy, Janice Lynn. Starring as Mike, my brother from the Five Heartbeats, and David Ruffin from the Temptations, and Little Richard from the Little Richard Story, Leon. And I am blessed right now to have two cinematic icons that changed my life with their bodies of work. In alphabetical order, the one, the only, Mr. Richard Roundtree. And playing Uncle Bo, the one, the only, do you want my arm to fall off? Mr. Billy D. Williams. So this is the first time we've had all the cast here together. For those of you that have seen, and tonight, like I said, we're having it at the Newseum tonight at 5:30. Just kidding. Some of y'all be coming really late. The show be over with. So anyway, tonight at the Newseum, please get there at 6 o'clock. We have the cast here, and since I have Ray here and the cast here, and we're talking about new medium and working on this show, for those of you that have seen the show, I'm going to open it up right now to a panel discussion with the cast. You know, we're just going to talk for like 5 minutes as we have everybody here. Any questions you guys would like to ask the cast or about working on the show or anything? Any questions at all? Yes, sir, right here. What drew the cast to the project? Anybody?
I'll go first. Well, for me, it was Robert Townsend. The possibility of working with Robert I've always wanted to do, and then I read the script and I said it's a no-brainer.
That's exactly how I felt. I heard Robert Townsend's name and I said, I'm there. And then when I read the script, the playwright, screenwriter is Cheryl West, is absolute, to me, was the new Tennessee Williams, the new face of great American writing. So, and this has all been a gift and the dessert of working with it.
Other questions? Other questions? Yes, right here. Yes, my dear.
How do you all feel knowing that now you get the opportunity to reach even more people because you're using the medium that's accessible by a lot of folks?
It's amazing. It's an amazing feeling. And honestly, sitting over there in the corner trying to not be antisocial, but just, I got bronchitis and I don't want to spook anybody. But sitting and watching the presentation, it's just amazing, and it brought tears to my eyes, not just the portion of the project that I'm a part of, but just the overall, what it represents and what it means for that person that has a question, but they're too afraid to ask the person that's sitting next to them that has 1,000 degrees in so many different things. It was just an amazing feeling to be able to see that that person that just learned to read, that they can click onto a link and it will explain steps that they just couldn't ask maybe their mother or their brother or their sister or their cousin, or they're just afraid to ask, or they just don't want to ask, but they can read it for themselves. The idea behind finding a person in a moving image written in a screenplay or a television format, somebody that a person can identify with, it's just amazing how much more can be reached, and I see more possibilities because it's...
We're just beginning. We're at the beginning stages,
Yeah.
so thank you. Yes, you, my dear. You, my dear. Yes, you. How important is it to articulate in the English language?
And it was a registered trademark. And I'm just wondering what are your thoughts on this about you are set the stage for a lot of the youth. Pardon me? Oh, okay.
No, she's holding the mic.
Okay. The youth emulate you, and in the advertising community.
Well, you know, the only thing, I'll take the answer on that. The only thing that I would say is that, you know, what we're trying to do at One Economy and the V Studio is set an example. I mean, if you watch Diary of a Single Mom, the journey of this character is one about education and learning and trying to, in the episode that you're probably going to see if you come tonight, is her with her mentor, Mr. Bailey, played by Mr. Roundtree. He is teaching her to expand her vocabulary, to learn more words. And I know, no, I'm with you, I mean, I think you should. No, I totally agree. No, thank you very much.
Apply for a job?
I want to get around to other questions. Thank you, though. Thank you very much, because I see you passionate. I feel
My mother used to say, where you at between the A and the T?
Yes, right there. You have a question, or you just, yes. Well, you know, I mean, well, see, the thing that I would say is that with this first one, because of the foundation, we were able to put it together. But for the future, you know, because Ray's vision was to create content. I had never done anything in the internet space, you know, television and movies. And the whole thing is quality. Right now, the problem with television is that everybody's got, you know, low-budget reality shows on that are basically, you know, killing people's minds with all that crap. So when you look at this particular drama, we have probably the only drama that's not on television that stars, you know, primarily an African-American cast. So I think we're still developing the model that will be, you know, a revenue ad-driven model, but right away, this first one, we're just learning the process. We're learning what it takes. I mean, after this, because ideally we want this show to go to television. So we're going to start on the internet. Ultimately, you know, the audience following will allow it to grow, but right now it's at everybody's fingertips. Other questions? Yes, you, my dear, right there. Yes.
Excuse me, we have a microphone, wireless.
Okay.
Hi, I have a question regarding if you've thought about doing this in Spanish. I'm thinking kind of in terms of the novela framework and really reaching out to, we know that the segment of the population that has the least access to the internet and likelihood of using these tools.
I'll let Ray take this one, yes.
Sure, are not only Latinos, but dominant Spanish-speaking Latinos.
Yeah, that's a great question. When we started One Economy, and our content is broader than just Diary of a Single Mom and all of our websites, our protocol is everything is in English and Spanish. So we have all those toolboxes that you saw on the screen, those all are in Spanish, et cetera. And we are going to be producing content for Spanish speaking. This happens to not be one of those, but there will be other content that will meet the needs that you're describing. And part of our Broadband Opportunity Coalition that we're part of with the NAACP and La Raza and others, also, we're working with La Raza on thinking about that, as well as other organizations, because Mandarin, other languages, we need content for the other populations as well. We're also looking to acquire content. Everything is not just what we're going to produce. We also have, like you might have seen, the Pawn Chronicles on there. That was from another organization. So other things are being brought together in this space.
Last couple of questions, because we don't want to hijack the panel, and we want to thank
Yes, just real quick, Mr. Townsend and distinguished cast members, I just want to commend you for putting together a project that promotes a positive image of not only of African Americans, but also the human experience, because it's so important for our young people to turn on the television and watch a show with a wholesome message. So keep up the good work. I remember I Ain't Begot No Weapon.
Come up and say a few things.
He knows that joke, Hollywood Shuffle.
Yes.
But I just want to thank you personally. Before Spike Lee, it was Robert Townsend. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We'll have Congressman come on up. Congressman.
Mr. Townsend. I'll go.
Hold on 1 second. Yeah, we're going to...
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, both of you, very much. Hey, buddy. Thank you all so much for allowing me to interrupt this way. But I hope it was explained to you that the speaker called a leadership meeting right at the time we were supposed to start here. And it's all about whether or not we are going to get a health care bill that all of us can be proud of. And after that meeting, because of some contentiousness, now we're going to have a full caucus meeting that starts at 3. And so I'm coming in to thank all of you for your interest in this very, very important subject, and I'll have to run back out for that meeting. Let me say a couple of things to you, though. During the negotiations for the ARRA, the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, commonly known as the stimulus, a great debate broke out in our caucus over this whole issue of broadband. When the bill left the House, we worked hard to have equal 50-50. It was $5 billion. We got $2.5 billion to go to Commerce, another $2.5 billion. We wanted to go to the Department of Agriculture. Now, when the bill came back from the Senate, $7.2 billion was in there, all going to Commerce. Now, some of us had a problem with that. And I want to just explain to you why. Now, a lot of people, when they talk about the African American community, you know the first thing they say, what we need is an urban policy. And that's a euphemism for the African American community. Well, I'm from South Carolina, and there are a lot of members, over 40% of the Congressional Black Caucus members are from the South. And there's no place, though I may think Columbia and Charleston, Orangeburg and Florence are not rural, most of y'all think it is. And technically, quite frankly, most of it is. Now, the bill, we jumped up and down in the conference. And now you got $2.5 billion there for back in there for agriculture and the rest at Commerce. Now, here's the deal, and I want to tell you a little story now to make my point. I grew up in the town of Sumter, just about 22 miles from Somerton. Somerton is the little county seat of Clarendon County. That's where Brown versus Board of Education started out. Now, a lot of people think, when they look at the history books and look at Brown being from Kansas, the fact of the matter is the case started out as Briggs v. Elliott, the very first case filed in Somerton, South Carolina. It was all about Scotch Branch High School. Scotch Branch High School is still there today. I try to go there as often as I can, and as I did last March. When I went there to Scotch Branch High School last March, they brought the whole school district into the gymnasium, starting with the kindergarten all the way through 12. And I spent the morning with them. A little 4-year-old girl got up to do a poem, Langston Hughes' poem, and it just blew everybody away, 4 years old. I turned to the superintendent sitting next to me, and I said, you know, this is incredible. How connected are these families? She says, we just finished the survey, about 35%. And I'm saying, wait a minute. Here we are, 55 years after Brown, in the school where it all started, and you're telling me that 65% of these kids are not connected to the internet at all. Now, it's a little bit like the healthcare we're trying to do. And the big fight we got now is, yes, you can make it accessible, but the question is it affordable? And we have done what is necessary to make broadband accessible to these communities. But the adoption rates are of such, I think it right now in the African-American community across the country is like 46%. Now, if more than half of our households are in fact connected to all of the $7.3 billion we got there, and there are going to be more billions, the question is, what do we do? Do we just wait for this to go and lose another generation? I don't think so. I think that this session, I want to thank Donna for putting it all together, and I thank you all so much for being here. We have got to take steps immediately, because if we allow these communities to get locked out, I'll tell you what's going to happen. It's going to happen just as it did in 1930, 31, 32. The last time we had a stock market crash in 1929, Franklin Roosevelt went out to do the things that were necessary to stand the economy back up. The economy got stood back up. And you hear a lot of people talking about how great Franklin Roosevelt was. You have never heard Jim Clyburn say that, simply because I know what they did when they put the rules together to stand the economy back up. Throughout the South, our forebears lost land like mad because though the land was granted to white Americans, especially in the language, go do your research, you'll see it. And so my point is, as we go through this recovery, we've got to make sure that this time the recovery will not leave these children out. Because when this economy gets to humming again, and those kids in Clarendon County, South Carolina, are still locked out of the internet, don't have access to broadband, this economy is going to take off, and they are going to be left behind again. That's what I spend my time with every day. Even the new health care plan is not going to work unless health IT, health information technology, is effective. You're not going to connect community health centers to hospital units without health IT. So what you all are doing here today is more than about entertainment. I love my entertainers.
Thank you.
I used to try to be one. Yeah. I used to call myself a thespian. I've done A Raisin in the Sun. I've done The Rainmaker. I did Our Town. Y'all didn't know that about me.
Wait a minute. Hold up.
I was the stage manager in Our Town, so I know how to do this. I was best actor of the year at South Carolina State. So I know how to do all that. And I played the clarinet and the alto saxophone for 8 years. I know how to do all of that. But all of that is in my past. What's in my future is connecting households to health centers, children to education, African Americans to the world at large. Thank you so much.
Hey guys, we have to leave right now. So again, a round of applause for the cast. I'll see you tonight at the museum. Please make it out. You'll get a chance to see 2 episodes of Diary of a Single Mom. Thank you again. This session is not over with yet. There's still more people that are going to be talking. We just have to leave right now. I'm sorry. So I'm going to turn this back over to Donna Brazil and the team. Yes.
Thank you so much, Robert Townsend, who always is an amazing, amazing man. I would urge those of you who can stay and who want to make money to stay because, I see Davey D. Davey D wants to make some money because we have a bunch of people coming up on stage who are entrepreneurs, who are thought leaders, who are digital leaders. I would ask that everyone exit who's going to exit. 1 second. Housekeeping. All right, I just had to have a fan moment. Could everyone who is not remaining, please exit? I guess that's not going to happen. So I'm just going to call up our next panel, but I'm going to go do some housekeeping after that. We're going to move on to a topic that is incredibly critical, which really has to do with amplifying the black voice. Becoming the black voice, social and political movements in the digital age. While people are taking photos, I'm going to ask our next panel to come up. Carmen Dixon Rosenzweig, Gina McCauley, Donna Bird, Sean Williams, and Crystal High. Can you please proceed to the stage, and I will formally introduce you once we have a bit more calm here. So let's take a couple minutes break, and I'm just going to go and hustle people along. Get seated. I'll be back with you in a couple minutes. And someone's seeking his photo. That just didn't work out so well. But yeah, aside from the black eye, I'm fine. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our distinguished panel. And I'm going to go from my right, so from my immediate right and from your other right. How about that? It's like stage right. What's that whole thing? Stage right and audience right, whatever. Anyway, directly to my right, please raise your hand. We have Sean Williams, the editor of the DallasSouthNews.org, someone who I had on News and Notes very frequently, who I absolutely adore. And I'm going to let you guys give more of a context around what you do later. Then next to him, we've got Gina McCauley, the founder of Blogging While Brown. What About Our Daughters? Michelle Obama Watch. Next to her, we have Crystal High, who's the founding co-chair of Innovation Generation Broadband Policy Summit, who is someone who's really helped wrangle this whole event, and I want to thank you for your leadership on that. Next to her, we have Donna Bird, publisher of The Root, which is part of the WashingtonPost.com family, amazing website with incredible content and news. And next to her, one of my dear friends, Carmen Dixon Rosenzweig, founder of All About Race and the editor of a column at AOL Black Voices. So I want to thank everyone for being here. And I'm just going to jump right into it. And, Gina, let me start with you. I'll put you on the hot seat. We're still having the buzz from people who are looking at the mix of content about social issues and, you know, this action delivery system that One Economy and the Public Internet Channel have created, and having that merged with entertainment. As you can see, entertainment is incredibly sticky. You've dealt a lot with the images, portrayals, and actions around Black women. Do you think that it's an effective way? Do you think that using entertainment-driven digital media is an effective way to market social issues based on what you know and what you think about all the time?
Oh, absolutely. Entertainment and propaganda are very powerful. The Nazis knew that you could send a lot of messages cloaked in entertainment. So one of the things that I try to get people to see is that entertainment is important. And when I talk about a war on Black women, it doesn't matter if that entertainment is surrounded by music and gyrating women and flashing lights. It's still sending a message that Black women are props and prostitutes, that we're not human, less than, and that people can do whatever they want to us. So I take entertainment very seriously. It's not a joke.
It sounds like you're, you know, just, you know, permit me to jump in for one second. You do a lot of deconstructing of negative images of Black women. Do you think that they're more powerful than images that might be more instructive, narrative, inspirational? Do you think that the negative outweighs the positive?
Well, the negative outweighs the positive because people who are producing positive images don't get platforms. That's what's so powerful about the internet, is that anybody who has an internet connection can produce their own vision of what Black women look like. Right now, it's a very narrow spectrum because the powers that be, the editorial decision makers, the entertainment honchos are the ones who are deciding what images of us are acceptable. That's why all the Black women on TV look the same. That's why we're all long-suffering and struggling to survive. And in, you know, the Tyler Perry stereotype, yes, I said Tyler Perry, but there are those of us who are kind of sort of like Michelle Obama. We went to college, we can pay our bills on time. Those of us that have children have them within the bounds of marriage, and that image of us isn't on television, and I don't think that's an accident. And so what I'm here today, and part of my mission, thank you, brother, part of my mission is to empower Black women in particular to produce the visions of themselves that they want to see. You actually don't have to wait on One Economy. You can do that today. The technology allows you to produce it for free and distribute it for free, and what we do at Blogging While Brown is equip you with the skills in order to do that. So come on, let's jump in and start. If you don't like what you see, you need to start creating it yourself. Somebody else is not going to do it.
Well, how many people on the panel? I haven't had the pleasure of going to Blogging While Brown. How many of you have? I think Carmen, you have. Okay, wow. This is a whole panel. Well, I'm just going to ask, you know, Carmen, I saw you nodding, so I'm going to jump to you. First of all, explain what Blogging While Brown is, and then also explain what you do on All About Race.
Blogging While Brown was a brainchild of Ms. Gina over there, who is an activist extraordinaire. And her idea was to take this movement that basically, I would say, really exploded around the time of Gina. Gina Shaquanda Cotton, as many of you will recall, and Gina, Black bloggers really started to shift the blogosphere from blogging about, oh, I'm eating a sandwich, or oh, my day, from a personal diary to political issues. It really was Black folks who really took the fore into social justice issues. And Gina had the idea a couple years ago to get us all together. And so at Blogging While Brown, that first year, we were referred to as the new Niagara movement, because there were all of us expressing our voices individually online, and we got together and started to talk about ideas to help one another and to increase the vision to help others get involved in blogging and expressing their voice. Now, this year, it was even more grassroots teaching and activism in that there was a blogging boot camp, which kicked off the conference, and there were also seminars about activism and making money, and it was a really broad-based, more formal, and I would say more structured discussion of the possibilities.
Well, let me jump in for 1 second. How many people here have blogged either because they run their own blog or contributed to? Raise your hands high. And
That's
how
good.
many people consider that blogging in your own personal life, not in general, but in your own personal life, a useful business tool? How many people consider blogging in your own personal life, not in general, something that keeps you connected to social issues in the African American community? So it seems like we have a strong set of adopters here, as well as people who haven't done it. This is something I really want to ask all of you. So I'm going to get back to you about All About Race,
Yeah.
but I want to do a speed round here.
Sure.
How many people, and I'm going to start with you and go down the line, think that blogging is worth the time and effort that it takes? And I'm not being facetious, because it's hard. You do?
I think 100%.
Okay, Donna? I know you're not blogging directly, but what do you think? I mean, based on...
Well, it actually depends on what you're blogging. So
Can you yank the mic closer to yourself?
Oh, absolutely. If you're just blogging about your everyday, affairs, what you ate this morning and what you just watched on television, and you're not actually adding a tremendous amount of value to the conversation, then I would say no. If you're using the tool to build an audience for yourself, to help build a brand for yourself, to help push your perspective and have individuals really engage with you around particular topics, I would say absolutely.
All right. Yeah, yank the mic, Crystal.
I would piggyback on both Carmen and Donna's remarks insofar as, we talk about what is this defining the black voice, giving a new platform to the black voice. And you're looking at a group of people who for so long have been disenfranchised and have had ourselves ignored. And so when you consider the power that's inherent in blogging and getting your voice out there, I think it's absolutely worthwhile. And as Gina pointed out, it gives you an opportunity to create a niche for yourself, to create your interest where previously you didn't see that available, to create the image you want to see, to undergird the experience you want to have felt.
I personally don't think it matters what you blog about as long as you're using the technology. That's kind of that's the story that gets lost, is that if you can blog, you are mastering very powerful software that you can use to do anything. And I think one of the problems with broadband adoption is we want to tell people what they should be using the broadband for. And what we do at Black and White Brown is I say, I'm not here to tell you what to do with the technology. I'm here to give you the tools to do whatever you want to do with the technology, because then the technology is relevant to you. And I think that's the problem. The beauty of this digital media revolution is that it can truly be bottom up. We don't have the powers that be telling us what we're supposed to be doing online. And so if some young woman in a rural area, since we talked about South Carolina, wants to wake up in the morning talking about what she had for breakfast, I'm all for it. And I want to help her be able to do that if that's what she's passionate about right now, because those skills are a stepping stone to somewhere else. And so I don't stand and say which blogs are good, which blogs are bad, entertainment versus public policy or social justice, because a lot of those entertainment bloggers, when you go missing or your child is kidnapped, they're the only mainstream media source that's going to put your child's picture up and say, little whoever is missing, and they're reaching millions of people a day. They are our CNN, and I consider them a very valuable resource in the African American blogosphere, and they will talk about social justice issues if you reach out to them. So don't write them off. They're important.
Sean?
Yeah, I think that none of us really started this to make all this money and with thoughts that we'd be, on the same panel with the majority whip of the U.S. Congress. I think it was just a passion.
Fun, right?
It is definitely fun. But it was the passion that drove us. And so, a lot of times the money question does come into play, and that's important. But yeah, I think it's worth the time because, the people on this panel have accomplished some wonderful, wonderful things, as the people who have been blogging that raised your hands earlier. And so I don't think that should ever get lost in the conversation.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking so much of just pure profit, but a lot of times people, as we, circle into the conversation we're having about amplifying black voices and social issues, a lot of times people look at technology, and rightly so, I think, as a double-edged sword. It's something that can bring us together or drive us apart. How many of us have been at a function where everyone is on their BlackBerry? Are you together or are you apart? And so I think that technology in and of itself, and here, when I was looking down, I recognized I may have looked rude. I was sending a tweet. I was on Twitter saying, hey, I'm here at, CBCF 2.0 and blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, as I'm more present with a wider audience, I'm less present right here and right now. So how do we deal with the pros and cons of, who would want to take that?
Can I talk a little bit
Yeah.
about one thing? We talked a lot about cell phones, and this is one of my pet passions recently, because I don't think, we know that black folks, I think you mentioned it earlier, that black folks are more on cell phones than on laptop computers as compared to other communities. There are amazing things you can do with this cell phone. For instance, I was listening to Congressman Clyburn saying he was having a hard time perhaps having his voice heard and to push a particular bill that may be of importance to all of us. What if he brought in his cell phone and other members who supported that legislation all brought in their cell phone and they all had a particular ringtone? And at 12 o'clock, he tweeted out, listen, y'all, I need your support. At 12 o'clock, I need you to call this person, this person, this person, this person. And all of a sudden, the floor lights up becomes noisy with a single ringtone, just for 10 seconds. Think of what a powerful expression that would be. Think of the wind under his sails to really push to get something done. So, I don't know if I think we are too careful with the technology, actually.
Sean?
Yeah, I think that, it's a paradigm shift, and I'm starting to prepare people. When I go places and I say, look, if I'm looking down at my phone, if I'm on a panel with you and I'm looking down at my phone, it's because I'm tweeting, and I feel like I'm bringing more people into the conversation. So although, it's important to live in the moment, but when I'm looking at my Twitter feed, people say, I need more updates of that meeting that you're at. I need to know more. It's never, hey, there's too much. So I think, we have to get into a paradigm shift. No, we don't want to be the person talking on the cell phone while we're ordering our food and being loud. We don't want to be that. But at the same time, if we can use this technology to bring more people into the conversation, I don't see what's wrong with that.
Yeah, and the technology is relatively new, and so the social mores and the rules about using that technology are evolving. There used to be a time where I left this in the room last week and my arm started to twitch because I wasn't used to not having it. But I'm learning how to live without it and how to incorporate the technology into my life. But since you bring up cell phones, one of the interesting things is that is an advantage for our community. If we are overrepresenting in the mobile market, then we need to start directing our focus towards meeting a mobile need. And so don't be a technology snob and say, well, black folks don't have laptop computers, but they managed to buy a PSP, or a Game Boy or whatever. That's a computer too. Yeah. And so when you're talking about reaching people, you have to talk about the cell phone. Don't write it off. I don't carry my laptop anymore. This is it. So that's one area. For those of you who are doing policy work or beginning to produce content, that's our strength, is that we overrepresent in the mobile market.
Well, Crystal is doing policy work. So tell us a little bit about what the work is that you're doing and how you view the connection. Very specifically, how does someone having a device turn into someone having a voice?
Right. Well, the Innovation Generation Broadband Policy Summit is all about bringing together the leaders in our communities, whether we're talking about elected officials, members of Congress, doctors, teachers, lawyers. It's about bringing people together to understand the power of broadband to positively affect and change our communities and the world in which we live. It's no longer about looking at broadband in this kind of diffuse silo. Broadband is education, broadband is healthcare, broadband is communication, it's entertainment, it's all of these things. And for communities that have for so long gone underrepresented, broadband is that multiplier factor for us. And ultimately, when you spoke some about, how does device go from device to being voice, ultimately it's all about connectivity. You think about any time a group of people is disenfranchised just because they lack that fundamental connection to what's considered the primary culture, right? And now we don't have to be disconnected anymore. Whether you're using a PSP, whether you're using your wireless device, whether you're using your laptop, as long as you are getting online and doing something, you are manifesting a voice. Because when you just sit back passively, when you let other people make decisions for you, when you let other people take part in discussions that you would love to be a part of, but you had no way to participate before, that's manifesting the voice. That's how you affect change.
But I want to follow up with you and then also get Donna in on this. What do we need to be focusing on in a purposeful way? Because I think that,
adoption. We need to use the technology. If you consider that between whether you're talking about cable, fiber optic, wireless, satellite, whatever, right? Assume that, say, 90% of the country can access broadband. Access is not the issue. We need to adopt it. We need to develop a new culture that makes this stuff relevant. You know, it's like you look at the panel that was up here before with Robert and, you know, the
Ray
whole
Ramsey,
cast of
yeah.
Diary of a Single Mom. You know, that is one model, okay? That is how do you make content relevant. It might not appeal to everyone, but there are people who that show will resonate with, and because of that show, they will get online, they will use broadband. There are people who will read The Root. There are people who will read All About Race. There are people who are on Michelle Obama Watch, Dallas South, because that content resonates with them and it causes them to use the technology. That's what we need to focus on, adoption. No one device, adoption. Get it in your house. Make sure it's relevant. Use it by any means.
Well, Donna, though, I mean, you know, what I'm trying to get at is I think that there's a powerful message that's coming from Crystal and Gina about, you know, basically you have to play to win. You have to use some kind of technology in order to be in the game. But what is the game? What is the goal? What is the sort of, you know, the North Star of all of this engagement?
Well, I think it varies. I think the key is, I think what you were just saying a moment ago, the key is to find something that you're passionate about that resonates with a broad audience. And I come from the business side of this. I'm looking at, I work with The Root on the business side, so I look at how do we begin to take these technologies and actually monetize them. So this is to your question she was asking here earlier. But how do we look at this and how do we monetize them? And quite honestly, the key to monetizing a business is making sure that you have something that's relevant to a constituency. And I think, you know, it doesn't really matter what you're ultimately doing as long as you're adding value and people are willing to engage with you on a regular basis and ultimately, hopefully, also willing to pay for your content, or you have someone who's willing to pay to advertise to the audience that you have been able to generate.
Let me go into a couple of different areas, and I'm going to start with social issues, marketing, and public health, since that's the context in which Representative Conyers spoke to us, and that's the context also in which Robert Townsend and Ray Ramsey spoke to us about issues of you know, you saw the narrative in Diary of a Single Mom that was about breast cancer. You had a narrative about the economy. And I think that Representative Conyers made a very clear and direct connection between access and the future of the black community, not just in terms of money, but also in health. All that said, when you think about what needs to happen between now and, say, the midterm elections, or now and the 2012 presidential elections, what does it take to take people who have access and turn them into informed citizens, turn them into people who can really deal with the healthcare debate on a level of having their voice heard, being able to encourage action on the part of their congresspeople, being able to deal with all of the messaging that's out there? I mean, if you're sort of new in the pond of digital technology and you're trying to figure out how to be a more empowered person on the healthcare debate, and I'll just be specific and throw it out there. Crystal, what do you think? What kinds of questions should you be asking or resources should you be seeking?
You know, I don't think it's about any specific questions that people need to ask. They need to get out there and explore the net. You know, there's a wealth of information out there, but if you don't make use of the tools that you have accessible to you, it's not going to do you any good. And so with, I think, you know, the social media bent, it's a gateway, it's an entry tool, right? It makes everything easier. It democratizes the internet. You know, it's like once upon a time you could only get on the internet if you were a sophisticated web designer. Not the case anymore.
But where do you go? I guess that's what I'm asking is, once you're on this thing called the internet, where do you go for information? And it could be a personal reply, something that you like.
Well, in addition to organizing Blogging While Brown, I'm also what some people call a micro-activist. I use the technology to wage war. And so I think the question's reversed. The question should be, what should those powerful people who are driving this legislation communicate to me, a concrete step I need to take that will drag it across the finish line? Don't put it on the internet users to say, figure it out on your own, find your spot. It's not my job to drag your legislation across the line. It's not my readers' jobs to figure out how to help Gina. It's Gina's responsibility to say, I need you to do this today. I need you to call this person. This is their number and their email. You may get their receptionist. Her name is Jane. If you want to get past Jane, you need to do this. And if you give people concrete steps, it will eliminate all excuses for apathy. But when you just leave it wide open and say, well, people aren't mobilizing, you haven't given them a target to hit. You know, you got to give people a target to hit. You know, I'm somewhat frustrated up here right now, and so y'all can follow me on Twitter, and we will talk about this later, but...
What are you frustrated about?
Because it's all top down. Yeah. Well, then,
then bring it up.
Okay, it's not top down. It's you bring people up. You empower people with the technology, and you can do it with them, but you have to give them some guidance. It's two way. Because, for instance, I started out with righteous indignation and an internet connection. I was passionate about one issue. The technology amplifies what's already there. But if there's nothing there, it can't amplify anything. So if you're talking about organizing people to get them to move on healthcare or any other bill, you have to break it down like a fraction. Because you can't, the most powerful thing online is the ability to search, the ability to find something, the ability to filter. And that's actually what bloggers do. They are human search engines. They go through this massive 170 million blogs that Technorati was tracking, 160,000 created every day. They go through all this massive content, and they tell people like them, this is what I found important. And so you got to filter out all the stuff for them. Don't put the onus on people to figure it out for them. If you're going to do micro activism, be concrete, be specific, and give them a target to hit.
Now, let me go to Carmen, but one thing I will say that perhaps you can reflect on in your remarks is, how do people even find Gina? So,
well, I wanted the whole reason I agreed to be on this panel. This came out yesterday. This is Politico, the war of the tweets. The conservatives are winning the war of the tweets. Yep. The reason I particularly wanted to be on this panel is because I don't feel our representatives who perhaps are pushing legislation that is important to us are using social media effectively to help me find you. If you tweet and tell me to call at 12, I'm going to call at 12. But you can't just start the hour before you need me. You need to establish a relationship. And as much has been echoed, what I see and concerns me sometimes is new media, social media. If it's used effectively, it collapses hierarchies. Yep. And some folks aren't so comfortable with all of a sudden, we're peers. Right. We're peers. You need me and I need you. Okay? So just what we're saying, here it is. The conservatives have got this down. Do you think they're asking their people to analyze and to think? They're saying, call this person at 2 o'clock, clog the phones, don't let them leave for the vote, and it's done.
And they do it.
Well, let me get some people, you can continue talking, but I want to get some people to line up to give us some questions.
A couple of points to Gina's point and to Carmen's point. In Dallas, my congressperson, Eddie Bernice Johnson, has figured this out, and she figured it out a long time ago. Anytime that she sent out something to the news media, she sent it out to me. And most of the people didn't know who I was, but I had a whole different audience. And so now that we're doing DallasSouthNews.org, if Congresswoman Johnson is having an event and they're looking for a moderator, they don't just look to the Dallas Morning News and the Channel 5, they look to me and the people in my organization. And I think from what I see, there aren't very many people on Capitol Hill that are doing that. And even in our exchange earlier, and I'll say it, even in our exchange earlier with the people from One Economy, we're standing as peers. We are standing as peers. And again, it's kind of like if they wanted to hit 1 million people tonight, that was their chance.
Right.
That was their chance to hit 1 million people tonight. Mm-hmm. And that's an opportunity that a lot of people are missing between entertainers and congresspeople, whoever, but the people who are on it are not missing it.
Let me get the gentleman at the microphone. Can you give us your name, where you're from? And
Norris McDonald. I represent the African American Environmentalist Association, and we have a blog. May I ask a two-part question? Or one?
Ask one, and okay. If we have time for the
one is, what are the implications of Google search and SiteMeter for blogging?
I like that. All right, who's going to take that?
Google search is the be-all. It's the stuff. Okay, if you know search engine optimization, Google has the ability to determine whether or not you live or die, whether or not you exist. They can erase you online, and people won't be able to find you. I have 2 sites. Michelle Obama Watch is very search oriented, which means that its traffic is very explosive. If she's doing something, it'll go through the roof. If she's not, it'll kind of taper off. What About Our Daughters gets less overall traffic, but it's stable because it comes from referrals from people like Carmen and Crystal. It comes from people who are actually looking for me, and then some of it comes from people who are searching for me. And SiteMeter is just a diagnostic tool. It just tells you how many people came, where they came from, that kind of thing. But search engine optimization, people like to use it, but all it is how you tag and write your posts and your post titles in a way to make sure that your page shows up highest when people go looking for you. But yeah, if you're trying to make it online, you got to spend at least an hour studying the search engines. So yeah.
Donna, I'm curious from your perspective as someone who is producing original content and then, linking to and in some ways archiving or aggregating other content, how do you make sure that the root gets heard? And then I'm going to go to you.
We do a number of different things. I mean, we do things like we do search engine optimization. In fact, we're working on that right now, trying to make sure that we are getting out there so when people are searching for specific topics, they're able to find us. But we also have created a wide network of partnerships with blogs, with major media entities. We work very closely with most of the major companies that you would think of in terms of exchanging content. Not only, one of the things you find about the web, and since most of you are blogging, you know this already, is that it's a sort of give and a get. And there's an ongoing conversation and a sharing that goes along. So we partner with a number of these major media organizations. So we give them links, and they in turn give us links, and we sort of reciprocate as long as the content is relevant on our site. We also do quite a bit offline. So not only are we doing things online, we're also looking at ways offline that we can help generate buzz about the root. We're only 18 months old right now, so we're still relatively new, but we have about 1.4 million readers per month. And most of that is coming from the relationships that we're building with other media entities and the word that we've been able to generate in doing things offline, whether it's events or panels and those types of things, to get the word out about the root.
All right, let me go to the lady standing at the microphone. Can you give us your name, where you're from?
My name is Imani Countess, and I work for Trans-Africa Forum.
How are you?
I am well. I will be one of the people in the room who will acknowledge that there is a real generation gap here. And so I hear what you're saying, but I would say 75% of it I do not really understand. I blog. I've got that far. I blog on News One, Black Planet. And in terms of, and the organization that I work for, we're very good at getting the specific content. We can put together an action alert. We can tell people what to do.
Trans-Africa is what you're referencing.
That's right, Trans-Africa Forum. But beyond that, to get from the word version of the content to the potential audience, I'm really looking for much more specific details.
One thing. This is quick. Are you passionate about what you write?
Am I passionate?
Or whoever's writing, do you have a very strict point of view? Do you let it all hang out? Because frankly, if it's an AP, if I could get it on AP, it's not going to move me.
Ask Farai. When we run news and notes, were we passionate?
Absolutely, absolutely. But I think what Carmen is asking is, are you willing? And perhaps this is not it. This is what I would ask along those lines: is, are you willing to embarrass yourself? Right. Running up the steep learning curve of the digital world? Because it's like nothing gets done. I mean, it's like the digital world, to me, as someone who's been blogging since 1995, it's like running on a treadmill where someone else is at the controls. Like sometimes it's flat, sometimes it's straight up, sometimes you're running really fast, sometimes you feel like you're in your groove and you're just kind of chugging along. And it's you know, there's never going to be a moment where, you know, you say that you didn't get 75%. I think you're probably being unkind to yourself. But even if you didn't get 75%, you're still 110% ahead of most people, let me tell you. And everyone in this room is. Everyone in this room is here because you are all sophisticated. I think that it's important not to beat yourself down.
Farad, also, one of, the fastest growing demographic on Facebook is women 55 and over. And, my mom is a baby boomer. And, she was introduced to blogging through me. And she kept up, and when she friended me on Facebook, it was kind of weird. But
you were like,
we got through that.
I can't talk about any of my business anymore.
But like last night, we were doing a Skype call. I told my mom, get you a video camera, and you can see the kids. And so, we're doing a Skype call. Skype is a technology where you can do basically conferencing from your home. And, my daughter's 4 months old, sitting on my lap, and my mom says, well, she's spitting up on you. And my mom's in Paris, Texas. I'm in Dallas, Texas, and she's telling me that the baby's spitting up on me. And I think that's to the point. We have to get out of our comfort zone and use the technology, because anybody that has HBO, they have access to broadband internet.
Yeah, the majority of my students in the Beginner Blogger Bootcamp, and I've done it all over the country, are over 55 years old. 3 weeks ago, I was in Kentucky, and most of my students were older white women. The generational divide thing, the technology doesn't know how old you are. Right. Okay? You can wield the technology.
Neither do your readers.
Neither do your readers. But you know what? Like he was saying, that's a huge segment in the black market. It's massive. I'm going to start a senior site. I'm going to call it Soul for Seniors or something. But my parents, because, and that's one of the reasons why digital media literacy education is a big component of Blogging While Brown. It's because our generation has a charge to keep as well. We're proficient in this stuff. It's our obligation to make sure that our parents can bridge this divide as well, that you aren't prevented from participating in one of the greatest technological revolutions of my lifetime, maybe yours too, just because you don't know. And so just if you don't understand it, you can come to Blogging While Brown or ask any blogger online. Bloggers love to talk about blogging.
Shoot an email to anybody's writing you like. Seriously.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
are you Twittering? So I would just say that, and I this is just a very quick example. I mean, the other day we had free tickets for Good Hair on the route, and we had it on the route. We did
the new Chris Rock documentary, not actual good hair in a bag.
Sorry. It's the new Chris Rock movie documentary. So we put it on the site, and we kept it up, and we were watching it for a while, and we were basically giving away tickets. We watched it for a couple of hours, and we had a number of takers in that time. And then we said, you know what, now let's see what happens if we put it on Twitter. And I'd say within 15 minutes, we sold out of all of our tickets. So the difference is between sort of pulling people into your site and pushing your content out.
Yeah.
So Twitter enables you to push to people's devices. So everyone up here all of a sudden is sitting down, and they now know exactly what you want them to know.
I want to go now.
Yeah, but it's not a magic bullet.
No.
The technologies, the infrastructure, but relationships are the most important part of social media. So it's not enough for you to have a Twitter account. You also have to know people, and people have to know you. You have to meet people too.
Yeah, and I have a couple thoughts about Twitter, but I'll save them until after the gentleman at the microphone speaks.
Paul Porter, and I have sort of a different question. My background for a long time was in radio and black radio and working at BET.
Well, you got that smooth voice. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. And a couple of you guys on the panel, of course, have been quite helpful for what I do now. But how do we bring it together? When I first got introduced to Gina a while ago, but how do you find who's doing what? Besides, is there any idea how to really send people to the right places or to advertise for what you're doing? It just seems sometimes real fragmented. Yeah, you find through relationships, but is there anything on the next level to really direct people to?
Let me ask you to give us a specific scenario. Like, say, I want to sell Rice Krispies to, women in China. I don't literally mean that, but what would you, a very specific scenario, offer it to our panel and see what they have?
Oh no, just to get, like Gina says, she's a micro activist. For example, this news. And I know I have my favorite places to go, but how do you introduce new people to the web and sort of, you know, beside word of mouth? You know, there's advertising campaigns and using television or radio or something else. Is there anything planned to that extreme to speed the process up?
I think you also have to concede that this is relatively new. I mean, so it's kind of the wild, wild west. And so if you see a need, that's your opportunity. We're evolving. I mean, when I started out with Black and While Brown, all we had were complaints. Oh, it's horrible. None of the other social media conferences have enough black people. Okay, well, start your own conference.
Yeah.
Or if I feel as if, you know, what the root, I mean, the guy from Ebony Jet's coming up later, but I told people at Black and While Brown this year, if you feel that a certain publication is not offering you what you want, that's your opportunity. As far as trying to bring us all, I guess, in a more organized way, I don't think that's a good thing.
I'm not saying to organize it. I'm just trying to figure out how folks can find like a directory. I don't know.
Why don't you do a weekly YouTube show, a webcast about the best blogs you found this week?
Okay.
Do one every week. People will tweet about it, and especially when we're featured. No, but you would get a following. The most interesting blogs this week.
Yeah.
Why not do that every week?
Yeah,
I just saw the idea. Thank you.
Somebody did do a black blogger listing poll. They came up with like over 100,000 black blogs by cross-referencing the blog rolls on sandrarose.com and some other blogs. There's a post out there that has tracked up to over 100,000 blogs. There's also something called the Black Blog Rankings by Electronic Village, and he's tracking something like 15,000 blogs. Blogging While Brown will probably have a black blogger directory since I have heard that. And then Black Web 2.0 just started something. I don't remember the name of it, but they just started the color of tech, and it's kind of like a who's who of black tech. She'll explain when she gets up, but there are people who are beginning to catalog it. So Black Web 2.0, that's a great place to start, though.
And to shill my own thing, I'm going to be launching a Twitter feed for Pop and Politics, which was, was a blog I started, but I'm taking it in a new direction of aggregation. And when that relaunches, I think it'll be interesting because I really think that aggregation at this point can be as important as original content, because right now people are producing so much data that a good filter is often as important as good new information, because you need to sift through the chaff to get the hay. And so what I'm really looking for, when I started popandpolitics.com in 1995, it was one of the very few blogs around, period. And so it was easy to get buzz and traffic, and it was written up in the New Yorker, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now I'm not as interested in doing personal blogging, but what I am interested in is documenting how I travel through information. Because I think of myself as someone, one of my passions is kayaking, and I do it as often as I can. So like a kayak is a very nimble, small, 1 or 2 person boat. And I've been sea kayaking with my sister, I've been solo kayaking on rivers and lakes, and you are the person who's steering this tiny craft, sometimes across an ocean. So I think of myself as being in a kayak when I'm in the world of information. I have a small boat, but I can go anywhere. And so what is my trail, and how do I leave markers for where I've been? And I think that using meta tagging, using blogging, using all sorts of tools to sort and sift and document where you've been is important, because all of us, for example, people come physically into a space as we are here today, but we also often come into virtual spaces, the spaces that we occupy, online, and sometimes you can meet people at a conference, and then you create an online community out of that conference that's just as powerful as the face-to-face event. So think about documenting your process of exploration, and I bet you'll find people who are interested in that.
And to that point, 2 quick things. In terms of aggregation and looking for sites, there is another site. It's respect.com, RSSPECT.
RSSPECT.org.
I love that already.
And that has, whether you're talking about social issues, political issues, entertainment, it has kind of like a scrolling list of all those different blogs. But also, we, as the panel, we have a new blog that's up now. It's mobilizingthemasses.blogspot.com, and that'll be a great place for you to begin dialogue, to continue the discussions that we have today, because granted, although our forum is however long, 3 hours, there's a lot more that needs to be done in order to really use this technology, to use social media in a way that truly mobilizes our community. So that's going to be another outlet for you.
All right, jump back in. Reintroduce yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Terry McClanahan, and I'm the Senior Project Manager with Yadari Enterprises / writer, blogger for the company as well. So I think you answered my question, because I am a researcher, and I went out looking for black folks that blog. But let me just tell you the journey. I went to Barnes & Noble looking for how to do this, because that's the kind of person I am. They go get a book on it. All right?
Even if it's online, I want a book.
I did. I got the 31 Days to a Better Blog. I bought ProBlogger. I bought this social media book, and I brought that social media book. I went to Technorati. I did my search, and then find no black folks. Now maybe I put African American instead of black. You know, I don't know. Maybe I didn't. I just. Anyway, my question was, where, and I'm empowered. I'm gonna start my own blog, so I'm not complaining. Okay, but I did want. I have some things I want to say, and I wanted to link in and join some other black folks that are saying stuff, and so I need to know where to find them, because I didn't know about blogging while brown. I would have put blogging while black, because in California, brown folks are Latinos. I wouldn't have done, okay? It's a cultural thing. I didn't know what about our daughters. I didn't know about Black Blog Ranking or Black Web 2.0, and then you said the last one, mobilizing the masses, you said it so fast.
That's just new. Mobilizingthemasses.blogspot.com.
Okay. But anyway, I'm just saying that I guess the reason why the question came up twice is because maybe there is you guys do it every day, so you know. But for us that are just coming in, we don't necessarily know. We need to have a place to jump off and start from.
And again, I'm going back to, it's new. There was a time where we wouldn't get invited to this event.
That's true.
So you would never have met us. So okay. Even though I've been blogging for 2 years, I really only recently have started to come out from behind the keyboard. Blogging While Brown's only 2 years old. So
and very successful.
Thank you. So number one, that's where you need to be if you want to meet people. But the second thing is that even though I live in the space, every day I learn about a new pocket of black folks I did not know were out there. So it's not like last year, I didn't know about the black science bloggers. They have their own clique. If you go on RSS PCT, so even it's an ocean. So even if you know your corner or there's always a pocket somewhere. So
I also wanted to just say that you're very correct about making sure that they give us a target, because I belong to a couple of social organizations that are predominantly white, and I'm telling you, I get emails every other day that says, this is your congressperson, send them an email, send them a fax, tweet them here, do this, do it at 12 noon today, do it at 1 o'clock tomorrow, and none of the people who are asking me to do that are black, so you're right.
Well, let me just say that we're going to have about 10 more minutes of this panel, and then we're going to move on to our panel on entrepreneurship, and I know a lot of people here are people who are entrepreneurs. We have 2 people at the microphone. I was trying to make secret signals because we're just using the microphone as a cue. So now we have 3 people at the microphone. Let's just say that we'll go through everyone. I'm not sure if we're going to get to number 4, but why don't you please go ahead?
Good afternoon. My name is Adrena Eiffel, and I'm working on the A Voice project, which is a project of the CBCF, which is an online digital library for the history of the CBC. And I'm very fascinated with what everyone's talking about, and I wanted to see what the follow-up was going to be. I can't type that fast in all the URLs that you're talking about. So is there going to be somewhere I can go afterwards to refer to all these sites that you've mentioned?
Yes, there will be. I'll say it really slowly because it is long. My apologies. mobilizingthemasses.blogspot.com. I promise you, once we own that domain name, it will be a lot shorter.
You don't own it yet?
We do. We haven't transferred it over.
Well, I have a solution. I'm gonna stand here right now and tiny URL it. This is my favorite ever well, at least for right now, my favorite ever for right now website, tinyurl.com. And there's a bunch of other ones that do this, but they will crunch a long one into a short one. So just for the purposes of today, I will, while we're continuing our conversation, find a little short code for that.
And while she's doing that, I want to pick up on your last point, because that was the one point I wanted to make when I came here, was that we are very good at microactivism. I'm very good at doing air wars. We're very good at engaging in political discourse, but we are very bad at engaging in governance. So while we have a lot of tech savvy and we can navigate this space, we need help from those of you who have the wisdom and knowledge about how to navigate the halls of government, because that's something where we are seriously lagging behind our white counterparts. You know, black, and that's why I started Black and White Brown, and I'm kind of a person online that kind of always pushes people, let's do one more crazy thing, because we have to keep up with our counterparts. If you fall behind, you'll never catch up. We don't own our infrastructure online. We don't own our political infrastructure online. We don't have our own Act Blue. The technology allows you to aggregate small contributions from across the world and pool them. We don't have a black version of Act Blue. So if they decide they want to take out our representatives who've been representing us for 20 years, and that, believe me, that's on the list, because there's some divergence when it comes to social issues, they have the ability to do that. I could point to a particular congressional campaign, but I won't. So we have fallen behind that. Black bloggers there's a black blogger that's big on tasing. Anytime somebody gets tased anywhere in the United States, he sends out an email, brother so-and-so got tased today, you know. But I've always wondered, because this past winter, spring was a legislative session in most of the states in the country, why didn't he draft some policy, since it's a law enforcement official who's been delegated that power by a state government? Why didn't he go down and try to get a law amended or add something to the criminal procedure code in his state and take it state by state? So where we're going next for Blogging While Brown is, number one, access to capital, because you're going to hear from people who've been in the business and they're connected to larger entities, but most of the people who come to Blogging While Brown are ordinary people who are micropreneurs who just got a dream and an internet connection, and they don't know how to speak the language to tap into that money, and that's something that black entrepreneurs have always had a problem with. The second thing is, how do we learn how to lobby? You know, how do we move beyond the email petition? How do we go from, you know, showing up on election day to crafting an agenda that we want to see follow through after the votes are counted?
All right, I have to jump in, because
that's something else.
I want to say something really quick to that, and that is, if you really want to look back into history, just look back in the 90s, I would encourage you to go look at the Christian Coalition and how they organized in the mid-90s and how they utilized technology. It is unbelievable what they were able to amass in terms of a social movement. And all they did is use technology. And it's stuff that can be completely replicated today. In fact, it could be facilitated by most of the technology we had then. Then they were just using this big old cell phones, and they were using some internet, and they didn't have Twitter, and they didn't have Facebook, and all of those types of things. But if you want to learn how someone did a major plan and implemented that plan and then borrow from those learnings, I would encourage you to look at the Christian Coalition in the mid-90s.
Okay, I'm going to, because you were there first, I'm going to go to the gentleman on the right, and then I'll go to you. Sir?
Good afternoon, Marcus Finley with LiveLiberty.com, a web startup. My question for panelists, going back to the theme for this conversation around mobilizing, using social media. So can you give some ideas or things that you've done to convene and mobilize your communities and your followers, and then actually, how'd you get them to actually do action steps? Do like example of making phone calls.
I have a quick example. Last fall, I worked on a campaign with some people out of Prince George's County, Maryland. There was this ballot referendum that was up. It would have increased the taxes on their cell phone bills, their home phones, all of that, by like 20% had it passed. Now, this is a community that is predominantly black. And up to this point in time, you know, revenue referendums always went through, you know, the city always won. There it is for Prince George's County. Well, what we did last year was a series of things. We got online, but we used the online mechanism more so to organize people in their home districts. So, you know, we were blogging, we were sending letters to their editors in terms of the local newspapers, they were communicating with their county officials, they were rallying in their communities. They were organizing their, let's go stand out in front of the polls, their poll watching times. By the time all that was said and done, the ballot referendum, which would have, increased their taxes, was defeated by like 73%. Never, in the last 10 to 15 years has that happened. And it's all because of using this tool. The thing that's great about social media, and I think Gina touched on it earlier, if you don't have a message, if you don't have a purpose, social media is not going to do it for you. But if you have something that resonates with the core of the people you're trying to reach, social media can take you that extra mile because it can get into places where you ordinarily couldn't. I can't call everybody, but boy, that tweet can get to the world. I can't email everybody, but you know what? I'm going to throw up a blog so people who I wouldn't even thought were on my radar can get a feel for that. And so that was an example for me of how real social media can be as a political mechanism. And don't forget, we all saw it. The election of President Barack Obama was affected in large part because he had that social media machine behind him. Brilliant man, totally visionary. But who would have known unless he knew how to command these tools in such a way that he was in your house, he was on your computer, he was on your phone, he was in your mailbox. He was everywhere.
And sometimes you had to beg him to leave because you were like, my inbox is
And he was
cluttered.
bypassing a lot of the traditional routes to get to people.
And part of the problem now is the White House doesn't have that same infrastructure. So, one of the reasons why they're losing some of that media wars, they don't have, when you went to their headquarters in Chicago, it was like walking in IBM. It was set up like a business, but in the White House, it's not like that.
Yeah, and they're still further ahead than the last administration was, but I think that one of the things that is very interesting along the lines of what you say is it strikes me that one of the reasons that we're all here is because there is not a public without a private. There is not a government or a public sector without private individuals. At the same time, maintaining those links between public and private can be very tricky because there's questions of trust. When does a campaign message become too aggressive? All those things are now coming up, and the limits of propriety as people exchange information too. I'd like to go to you.